Here are 10 signs that you are being too kind, and 4 powerful strategies to stop people from taking advantage of your kindness and protect your energy. Have you ever felt like your kindness is being used against you? Maybe you've noticed one of these signs. People only come to you when they need something. Your goals are consistently sidelined, or you feel drained and unappreciated after helping others. If any of these resonate, it's a wake-up call. You might be giving too much, and it's costing you your happiness and peace of mind. When you're overly kind, you risk falling into dangerous patterns. You might find yourself neglecting your own needs, attracting people who drain your energy, or being treated as weak. Worse, you could even lose touch with your own identity as your life becomes consumed by the needs of others. The Stoics warned against this imbalance, teaching us the importance of self-respect and setting boundaries. But don't worry, there's a way out. Imagine a life where you could spot these 10 signs early and take action. People treating you as weak, assuming you'll handle everything, or overlooking your goals. What if you could break free from these cycles, preserve your energy, and still be a kind and giving person? In this video, I'll reveal 10 signs that you are being too kind and 4 transformative strategies to protect your energy while maintaining meaningful relationships. By the end, you'll have the tools to balance kindness with self-respect and finally stop feeling taken advantage of. Stick around. This could change the way you see yourself and your relationships forever. 10 signs that you should stop being too kind. 1. Unrealistic expectations. How overgiving leaves you drained. Let me tell you about a moment in my life when I felt completely wiped out. I had bent over backward to help a friend who was struggling. I covered their shifts, lent them money, and even spent hours listening to their problems. At first, I felt good, like I was making a difference. But as the weeks went by, something strange started happening. I found myself waiting for them to ask, "How are you doing?" or to return the favor. Spoiler alert, it didn't happen. Instead, they grew comfortable taking what I gave, and I grew resentful. Here's the truth I had to face. I wasn't being selfless. I was attaching strings. I expected them to give back, to reciprocate, to care as much as I cared. And when they didn't, I felt betrayed. That's when I realized I had unrealistic expectations, and it wasn't their fault. It was mine. The Stoics teach us to give freely, but with boundaries. They say, give not to please, but to act in accordance with your own principles. Giving from a place of expectation isn't generosity. It's a transaction, and when you expect others to fill your emotional bank account, you set yourself up for disappointment. 2. Dependency creation. Breaking free from the trap of always giving. I used to think that helping others non-stop was a sign of strength. If I could solve everyone's problems, surely they'd see my value, right? But here's the trap. The more I helped, the less others tried to help themselves. My constant giving became a crutch for them and a burden for me. I'll never forget the time I stayed up all night finishing a colleague's project. Instead of gratitude, they handed me even more work the next week. I was enabling their laziness, not empowering their growth. That's when I realized I was stuck in a cycle of overgiving, and it was harming both of us. The Stoics remind us that self-respect begins with boundaries. As Seneca said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Living courageously means saying no when giving would hurt you or hinder someone else's growth. True kindness isn't about doing everything for others. It's about inspiring them to step up and handle their own responsibilities. Once I learned this, I started changing my approach. Instead of jumping in to fix everything, I offered guidance and encouragement. But I let people take charge of their own challenges. It wasn't easy at first. Old habits die hard. But over time, it felt empowering. Remember this: when you always rescue others, you're not helping them. You're holding them back. Be kind, but don't let your kindness become a cage for yourself or others. Empower, don't enable. I started asking myself, am I giving because I genuinely want to, or because I expect something in return? That shift in mindset was life-changing. Now, I give what I can without overextending myself, and I let go of the outcome. It's not about getting something back. It's about staying true to who I am. And guess what? When you give from a place of strength and self-respect, people sense it. It creates healthier relationships. Stop chasing approval. Start embracing the power of intentional giving. It's freedom. 3. Neglected goals. How overgiving can steal your purpose. There was a point in my life when I felt like I was running on a hamster wheel. Every day was a blur of helping others, family, friends, co-workers, but my own goals, forgotten. I was so focused on pleasing everyone else that I didn't even know what I wanted anymore. The wake-up call came when I missed a major opportunity because I was too busy helping someone move. I looked at my life and thought, how did I get here? The Stoics warn us that if we ignore our own responsibilities, we lose ourselves. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." I had been avoiding my own dreams by drowning myself in other people's problems. It felt easier to fix their lives than to face my own fears. But here's the truth: self-neglect isn't noble, it's self-sabotage. So I started small. I made time for what mattered to me: writing, learning, working toward my dreams. I learned to politely decline requests that didn't align with my priorities. And guess what? Not only did I start making progress, but people respected me more for it. If you feel lost in the chaos of helping everyone but yourself, it's time to stop. Your dreams deserve your attention. Take control of your life by setting boundaries and putting yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. 4. Perceived weakness. How overgiving undermines your strength. There was a time when I prided myself on being the person everyone could count on. Need a favor? I was your go-to, but over time I noticed something unsettling. People began to take my help for granted. Worse, they started treating me as if I didn't have the strength to stand up for myself. I remember a moment when someone flat out said, "Don't worry, you'll do it. You always do." That hit me like a ton of bricks. My kindness, which I thought would earn respect, was being mistaken for weakness. It wasn't about them anymore. It was about me. The Stoics teach us that true strength comes from self-control and setting boundaries. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." By not saying no, I was giving up my freedom and my power. I decided to change. The next time someone pushed a responsibility onto me, I respectfully declined. At first, they were surprised, even annoyed, but eventually something unexpected happened. They began to respect me. Saying no didn't make me less helpful. It made me someone whose time and energy were valued. Here's the truth: people will treat you the way you teach them to. If you don't set boundaries, you'll be seen as a doormat. But when you stand up for yourself, you command respect. Don't let your kindness be mistaken for weakness. Let it be rooted in strength. 5. Conditional relationships. Recognizing true connections. One day, I looked around and realized that most of the people in my life only showed up when they needed something. At first, I told myself, that's just how people are. But deep down, it stung. Why weren't they there when I needed support? The Stoics teach us to act with wisdom and discernment. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." I realized I needed to be intentional about my relationships, focusing on those who truly valued me for who I was, not what I could do for them. I began to pull back from one-sided friendships. It was hard, I'm not going to lie. But as I let go of people who only took, I made space for deeper, more meaningful connections. I discovered the power of saying, "I can't right now," and it helped me see who truly valued me beyond my favors. Here's the key. Real relationships are about mutual respect and care. If someone only calls when they need something, it's time to reevaluate that connection. Invest your time in people who lift you up, not just those who weigh you down. 6. Attracting opportunists. Guarding your energy. I used to wonder why certain people seemed to gravitate toward me, the ones who always had problems but never solutions. They drained my energy, leaving me emotionally and mentally exhausted. No matter how much I gave, it was never enough. It felt like I was a magnet for negativity. The Stoics have a profound lesson here. We are what we repeatedly do. If you give endlessly without boundaries, you train others to see you as a resource rather than a person. When your energy is low, you attract opportunists, people who take but never give. This realization hit me hard. I had to acknowledge that my overgiving was part of the problem. So I decided to shift my focus. Instead of giving to everyone, I started prioritizing relationships and activities that uplifted me. I began practicing what the Stoics call apatheia, emotional balance, by protecting my energy. It wasn't easy. Some people didn't like the new boundaries. But as I distanced myself from those who drained me, I noticed something incredible. I started attracting people who brought positivity and support into my life. When you elevate your energy, you invite better into your world. Remember, kindness is powerful, but it needs to come from a place of strength. Protect your energy. It's your greatest asset. 7. Risk of addiction. The hidden cost of overgiving. One day, someone close to me said, "You're always helping others, but have you noticed how much you've been relying on that extra drink or those late-night snacks?" At first, I brushed it off, but later it hit me. My overgiving was driving me to unhealthy habits. I was using distractions to cope with burnout. The Stoics warn us about losing control over ourselves. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you give too much and neglect your own needs, you leave a void that unhealthy habits can easily fill. I started paying attention to how I felt after giving too much, tired, frustrated, and sometimes even resentful. To break the cycle, I began setting firm boundaries and prioritizing my own well-being. I replaced unhealthy habits with restorative ones, like journaling or taking long walks. If you're caught in a pattern of overgiving and unhealthy coping, pause, reflect. You don't need to sacrifice yourself to help others. Master your choices, and you'll master your life. 8. Suspicion of motives. Why kindness can be misunderstood. I used to think kindness would always be appreciated, but there were moments when people questioned my intentions. "Why are you doing this?" they'd ask, as if my generosity had some hidden agenda. It was disheartening. The Stoics remind us to focus on our actions, not others' opinions. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Living with integrity means doing good for its own sake, not for validation or approval. I learned to let go of how others perceived my kindness. I focused on living in alignment with my values, knowing that not everyone would understand or trust my motives. Over time, the right people saw my intentions and the wrong ones fell away. If you've experienced this, remember, you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Be kind, but don't let suspicion discourage you. Your actions, grounded in integrity, will speak louder than words. 9. Loss of identity. Forgetting who you are. There was a time in my life when I felt like I was living for everyone else. I was the problem solver, the caregiver, the one who always said, "I'll handle it." Slowly, without even noticing, I started losing touch with who I really was. My dreams, interests, and even my sense of self-worth faded into the background. The Stoics teach us that our identity lies in our ability to live in harmony with our values. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Overgiving can pull you away from the essence of who you are because you're too busy trying to meet others' expectations. I realized that I wasn't just overgiving. I was using it as a way to avoid confronting my own fears and insecurities. By focusing entirely on others, I didn't have to face my inner struggles, but ignoring them only made things worse. I began reclaiming my identity by setting aside time to reflect on what truly mattered to me. I asked myself, what do I stand for? What do I want my life to look like? It wasn't easy, but the more I aligned with my values, the stronger and more confident I became. If you've lost touch with yourself, pause and reconnect. Kindness begins with being kind to yourself. When you know who you are, your kindness will have more purpose and power. 10. Burnout, the ultimate cost of overgiving. I remember one particularly busy month where I said yes to everything, helping a friend move, covering extra shifts at work, and even volunteering at an event. By the end of it, I was completely drained. I had nothing left for myself or anyone else. That's when I realized burnout isn't just physical exhaustion, it's emotional and mental depletion too. The Stoics warn us about the dangers of overextending ourselves. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When we give too much, we not only exhaust our resources but also carry unnecessary mental burdens. I learned to recognize the signs of burnout: constant fatigue, irritability, and feeling like I was running on empty. To recover, I started practicing the Stoic principle of moderation. I made deliberate choices about where to spend my time and energy, and I gave myself permission to rest. Burnout teaches a valuable lesson. You can't pour from an empty cup. Prioritize your well-being, and you'll find that you have more to give, not less. The key is balance. When you protect yourself from burnout, your acts of kindness will come from a place of abundance, not obligation. Here are 4 strategies to avoid exploitation. 1. Self-awareness. Listen to your emotions. There was a time when I thought I could give endlessly without consequences. I'd feel drained, frustrated, or even resentful after helping someone, but I'd brush it off as normal. What I didn't realize was that these feelings were my mind and body screaming for attention, telling me something wasn't right. The Stoics emphasize the importance of self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When we ignore our emotions, we lose sight of what we need and allow ourselves to be overrun by others' demands. I started practicing emotional check-ins. Before agreeing to help someone, I asked myself, how do I feel about this? Am I giving because I want to, or because I feel pressured? If the thought of saying yes left me anxious or overwhelmed, I knew it was time to step back. Self-awareness doesn't mean you stop helping others. It means you help in a way that doesn't compromise your well-being. I learned to give from a place of strength, not obligation. By recognizing when I was overextending myself, I could course correct before reaching burnout. Your emotions are a guide, not a weakness. They reveal when your boundaries are being crossed or when you're neglecting your needs. Listen to them. When you honor your feelings, you protect your energy and ensure that your kindness is sustainable. 2. Say no. The power of boundaries. Saying no used to terrify me. I worried people would see me as selfish or unreliable, so I said yes to everything, even when it stretched me thin. The result? I felt exhausted, unappreciated, and trapped in commitments I didn't want to fulfill. The Stoics remind us that true freedom lies in self-control. Epictetus said, "He who is not master of himself is forever a slave." Learning to say no is an act of mastery. It allows you to protect your time, energy, and priorities. At first, saying no felt awkward. I practiced in front of a mirror, telling myself, no isn't rejection, it's self-respect. When someone asked for more than I could give, I'd respond with empathy but firmness. "I'd love to help, but I can't commit right now." It was liberating. The more I used this magic word, the more I realized its power. People began respecting my boundaries, and I felt lighter and more in control of my life. Saying no isn't about being selfish. It's about ensuring you have the capacity to say yes to what truly matters. Here's the truth. Every time you say no to something misaligned with your priorities, you say yes to yourself. Practice this skill. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Boundaries aren't walls. They're bridges to a healthier, more balanced life. 3. Prioritize personal time. Self-care isn't selfish. I used to think carving out personal time was indulgent. My calendar was packed with tasks for others, and I felt guilty about taking even a moment for myself. But eventually, I hit a breaking point. I realized I couldn't keep giving if I was running on empty. The Stoics understood the value of self-care. Seneca said, "We should take wandering outdoor walks so that the mind might be nourished and refreshed by the open air and deep breathing." Time for yourself isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. I started scheduling me time like any other appointment. Whether it was an hour for exercise, reading a good book, or simply sitting with my thoughts, I treated it as non-negotiable. When someone asked for my help during this time, I respectfully declined or offered to assist later. Protecting this space became my way of honoring my well-being. The benefits were profound. I felt more energized, focused, and present, not just for myself, but for others. Self-care wasn't selfish. It was an act of love that allowed me to show up better in every area of my life. If you're struggling to prioritize yourself, start small. Set aside 10 minutes a day for something that brings you joy or peace. As you build this habit, you'll find that personal time isn't a luxury. It's the foundation of your strength. 4. Identify energy vampires. Protect your energy. Have you ever spent time with someone who leaves you feeling completely drained? I used to think I had to help everyone, no matter how much it cost me emotionally. But certain people, energy vampires, took more than I could give and left me feeling empty. The Stoics advise us to choose our relationships wisely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Not everyone deserves your time or energy, especially those who take without giving back." I began to identify the energy vampires in my life, the ones who constantly complained, sought attention, or created drama without ever working on their problems. At first, it was hard to distance myself. I felt guilty, as if I was abandoning them. But then I realized I couldn't help them if they weren't willing to help themselves. By stepping back, I freed up emotional space for relationships that uplifted me. I surrounded myself with people who inspired, supported, and challenged me to grow. It wasn't about cutting everyone off. It was about setting boundaries with those who drained me. If someone in your life consistently takes more than they give, it's time to reassess that relationship. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's essential. You can't light up the world if someone is constantly dimming your flame. Choose wisely, and you'll thrive. Finding the balance between kindness and self-respect is one of the most empowering journeys you can take. By learning to set boundaries, prioritize your well-being, and protect your energy, you not only safeguard yourself, but also create deeper, more meaningful relationships with those who truly value you. Remember, kindness is most impactful when it comes from a place of strength and self-awareness. If this video resonated with you or gave you a new perspective, let us know in the comments. What signs of overgiving have you noticed in your own life? Which strategy are you most excited to try? Your insights and takeaways might just inspire someone else on their journey. And if you found this content helpful, don't forget to like the video. It helps others discover these life-changing strategies. Subscribe to our channel for more wisdom that empowers you to live with clarity, purpose, and balance. Share this video with someone who might need it. They'll thank you for it. Let's build a community that supports one another in finding harmony between giving and living authentically.